that moment, you book a trip to some, iconic destination. It's pure excitement, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then kind of sinks in the reality of hordes of people, maybe feeling like you're just shuffling from one selfie spot to the next. Ever been there?
Absolutely. The dream of seeing these incredible places can, quickly turn into a bit of an endurance test against the crowd.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder if there's a better way to actually experience that.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've got this fantastic resource. It's packed with really detailed advice, almost like having a seasoned globetrotter sharing their hard-earned wisdom.
That's good stuff.
Our mission, to unpack the secrets to not just visiting, but truly navigating those bustling tourist areas effectively.
Think of this less as a checklist of must-sees and more like a guide to unlocking a richer, maybe more authentic travel experience. We're looking at everything from the initial research you do at home to the subtle art of immersing yourself in a new culture, and even those crucial, sometimes overlooked safety bits.
Exactly. Our goal is to equip you, our listener, with really actionable sort of conversational strategies. We want your next trip to that dream destination to be less about stress and more about genuine connection and discovery. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the groundwork.
Research and planning.
Yeah, this is where the real magic kind of begins. It's about going beyond just booking the flights and hotels and starting to understand the essence of the place you're actually going to.
Right. Our guide emphasizes becoming a bit of an armchair detective. It talks about digging into the history, the culture, the underlying vibe. Like, take Rome, for instance, instead of just seeing the Colosseum.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing that it's construction involved, like hundreds of thousands of slaves, maybe? Or that the Pantheon's dome remained the largest unsupported dome in the world for over 1,000 years. That kind of detail just shifts your perspective, doesn't it? Oh, completely. What's fascinating here is how even a small historical tidbit can totally reframe your understanding, your appreciation of a landmark. It moves it from just being a static object to, a living piece of history.
And that deeper connection, it starts with being selective. Our guide wisely points out that, not every single place screaming for your attention is a must-see.
Right, you can't see it all.
Exactly. It suggests making a conscious choice between the truly essential and the nice-to-sees. Resources like Lonely Planet, TripAdvisor, they can be helpful here, not just for finding the popular spots, but also maybe for sifting through reviews to find those local favorites that might offer a more authentic feel.
This act of prioritizing is so important for managing your time and your energy. It lets you focus on what truly sparks your interest, preventing that feeling of being rushed and, overwhelmed.
Then comes the nitty-gritty that can make or break your trip, opening hours and tickets. The guide uses Machu Picchu and the Louvre as prime examples.
Oh yeah, big ones.
Can you imagine the disappointment of trekking all that way to Machu Picchu only to find it's closed on that particular day? Or facing like a 3-hour queue for the Mona Lisa? Booking tickets in advance and especially looking for those timed entry slots is a total game changer.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that timed entry slots, they don't just save you time queuing, but they can actually contribute to a slightly less crowded experience inside because the flow of visitors is more regulated.
That makes sense. Now, let's talk about when you go. Peak seasons, think summer in Europe, or maybe the rainy season in Southeast Asia. Sure, the weather might be ideal for some.
Sometimes.
But you're also battling massive crowds and paying top dollar. Our guide suggests looking at those shoulder seasons, spring or fall, as a kind of sweet spot. You might get pleasant enough weather with way fewer tourists and often lower prices.
That's a great point. And sometimes, traveling in the shoulder season can offer a really unique perspective. You might see landscapes in bloom in spring, for instance, or witness beautiful fall foliage stuff you'd totally miss in the height of summer.
Good point. And it's not just about what you see, but maybe how you're perceived too. The guide emphasizes the importance of understanding local customs. Did you know that in Japan, taking food from a shared plate with your own chopsticks is, considered impolite? Or that in many Muslim countries, dressing modestly, especially during Ramadan, is a really important sign of respect. These little cultural nuances can make a big difference in how you're received.
And these aren't just arbitrary rules, right? They often reflect really deep-seated cultural values. Making that effort to understand and respect them shows you're not just a tourist, but maybe a thoughtful guest.
On that note, language. You don't need to be fluent, obviously, but our guide points out how learning even a few basic phrases, hello, thank you, maybe just excuse me, can really bridge a gap.
It really can.
Translation apps are incredibly useful, of course, but that small effort to communicate in the local language is often really deeply appreciated.
What's fascinating is how even a slightly mispronounced phrase can sometimes lead to a funny and memorable interaction. It creates a more personal connection with locals.
Totally. So, after all this pre-trip sleuthing, what's the final piece of advice for the planning phase? Our guide offers a brilliant pro tip. Create a loose itinerary.
Exactly. It's about having a general structure, so you hit the key things you definitely want to see, but leaving enough wiggle room for spontaneity. Some of the best travel moments just happen when you stumble upon something unexpected.
Okay, you've done your homework. Fantastic. Now for the art of packing. The guiding principle here seems to be pack smart, travel light.
Yeah, definitely. When you're navigating crowded tourist areas, the last thing you want is to be weighed down by tons of unnecessary luggage. It hinders your mobility, makes things uncomfortable, and can even make you more of a target for petty theft.
Absolutely. The guide highlights the value of versatile clothing stuff you can mix and match. And layering is key, right? Especially if you're traveling between different climates, maybe even in a single day. But the real unsung hero of any trip, comfortable walking shoes. Trust me, and the guide on this one.
It's almost comical how many travel guides emphasize comfortable shoes, but honestly, it's absolutely crucial. Sore feet can ruin your entire day, no matter how amazing the sights are. Seriously.
Been there. And depending on your destination, specific weather-related gear is essential. Think a lightweight, packable rain jacket for those unexpected downpours in tropical places.
Right.
Or high-factor sunscreen and a wide-brimmed hat if you're heading somewhere sunny like the Mediterranean or, say, the Great Barrier Reef. Being prepared for the elements is just non-negotiable for your comfort.
Yeah, it's about anticipating the conditions and just making sure you're equipped to handle them, so you can actually focus on enjoying your experience, not, battling the weather.
Okay, on the tech front, the guide flags a few essentials. A universal power adapter, and it's worth noting that different regions use different plugs, like Type G in the UK versus Type C in most of Europe, and different voltages. So a universal one really is a lifesaver.
Yeah, gotta have one.
And in today's world, a portable charger for your phone is practically as important as your passport, especially when you're relying on it for maps and, well, everything.
Totally.
It even mentions a headlamp, which sounds odd, but can be surprisingly useful. Maybe for exploring night markets, or if you happen to be in an area with occasional power outages, like hiking in Nepal, perhaps.
What's interesting about the tech is how it empowers our travels.
Yeah.
But also how easily it can become a burden if you don't manage it well. Like a dead phone battery can suddenly make you feel very isolated.
True. Then there are the vital but often overlooked documents and backups. The guide advises carrying your passport, obviously, but also keeping a separate photocopy, maybe even stored in a different bag.
Right.
And digital copies saved securely somewhere. And a backup credit or debit card, kept separate from your main one, is just smart planning in case of loss or theft.
It's all about creating redundancies for the things you absolutely need. Losing your main way to pay or your ID can be incredibly stressful when you're far from home.
Health is another big one. The guide recommends a small first aid kit with the basics, plasters, antiseptic wipes, that sort of thing. Plus, any prescription meds you need, and those just-in-case remedies like pain relievers, maybe antidiarrheals, antihistamines if you have allergies.
Definitely.
And for certain destinations, like tropical areas with mosquitoes, a good quality bug repellent is a must.
Being proactive about your health like that can prevent minor issues from becoming big problems and potentially derailing your whole trip.
Finally, a nod to both practicality and sustainability with reusable items, things like water bottles and tote bags. The guide points out that in many places, like the UK for example, tap water is perfectly safe to drink. So carrying a reusable bottle saves money and cuts down on plastic waste. And a lightweight tote bag is always handy for those unexpected market finds or just carrying daily stuff.
These small habits can collectively make a really big difference, both for your convenience and, for the environment of the places you visit.
And the packing pro tip from our guide, using compression cubes for your luggage.
Oh, these are fantastic. Seriously. They maximize space within your suitcase or backpack and keep everything way more organized. It makes finding what you need so much easier and can even help you fit more in without going over airline weight limits.
All right, your bags are packed like a pro. Now let's talk money. Budgeting wisely, especially in tourist hotspots.
Yeah, it's almost a given that Prices tend to be inflated in areas catering heavily to tourists, so having a well-thought-out budget is really, really crucial.
Our guide emphasizes setting a daily spending limit, and it's a good reminder that what might be a reasonable budget in, say, New York City
Right.
could feel wildly different in a more budget-friendly place like maybe Thailand or Vietnam. Understanding those relative costs is key before you go.
Yeah, establishing those financial parameters helps you make conscious decisions about your spending day to day and avoids that nasty end-of-trip shock when you finally look at your credit card bill.
Been there too. One of the smartest ways to save cash, according to our guide, is to venture just a street or two away from the main tourist drag when you're looking for food.
Yes. It gives the example of finding delicious and much cheaper local eateries in the back streets of, say, Bangkok, compared to the restaurants right on the main tourist strip. Or trattorias away from the Colosseum in Rome.
And this often leads to a much more authentic culinary experience as well, right? The restaurants catering mainly to locals are usually serving up the real traditional dishes at fairer prices.
Good point. Transportation costs can also add up super quickly. The guide highlights the benefits of using public transport. It mentions how using something like an Oyster card on London's Tube is significantly more cost-effective than relying on taxis for every single journey. Many cities also offer day or week passes for the transport networks, which can be a real bargain if you plan on moving around a lot.
What's interesting too is that sometimes using public transport gives you a better sense of the city and its rhythm than just being sealed off in private vehicles. You see more of everyday life. True. And who doesn't love a good discount? Our guide suggests keeping an eye out for city passes like the Paris Pass, maybe that bundle entry to multiple attractions at a reduced rate, and also looking for student, senior, or even off-season discounts. It even mentions specific things like the TKTS booth in New York City for same-day discounted theater tickets as a prime example of, proactive deal hunting.
These kinds of discounts can really stretch your travel budget, allowing you to see and do more than you might have initially thought possible.
The guide also touches on travel hacking using credit card rewards points. But, and this is really important, it includes a major caveat. Only do this if you can pay off the balance immediately.
Crucial point.
Otherwise, the interest you pay will completely wipe out any potential savings.
Yeah, credit card rewards can be a great perk, but you have to be responsible financially. It's not free money if you're paying interest.
Right. Bargaining is another area where local knowledge is key. The guide explains that in many markets, particularly in places like India or Southeast Asia or the Middle East, a bit of polite negotiation is kind of expected. It's part of the interaction.
Part of the culture.
However, in other cultures, like in Ireland or much of Western Europe, haggling is just not the norm and might even be considered rude in regular shops. Knowing the local customs around pricing is pretty important.
Understanding those cultural differences in commerce shows respect, and it helps you navigate local markets much more effectively and maybe less awkwardly.
Definitely. And the budgeting pro tip from our guide, using budgeting apps like Trail Wallet or similar tools to keep a real-time track of your expenses as you go.
Oh yeah, these apps are great. They offer a really good visual representation of where your money is actually going, making it easier to stay within your budget and maybe identify areas where you might be accidentally overspending.
Okay, so you've done the pre-trip prep, you've budgeted, now you've arrived. Let's talk about how to navigate like a local.
All right, this is where your pre-trip research really starts to pay off.
Yeah.
Knowing the basics of how to get around in a new city can make a huge difference in your confidence in your overall experience.
The guide really emphasizes researching the local public transport system before you even land. Knowing, for example, that Tokyo has an incredibly efficient but sometimes overwhelming subway system.
Oh, yeah.
Or understanding the etiquette on London's underground escalators, stand on the right, walk on the left. That can save you a lot of confusion and maybe a few bumped shoulders.
Definitely avoids looking like a clueless tourist.
It also mentions getting a reloadable travel card like Tokyo Suica or Pasmo or London's Oyster card for just seamless travel, no fumbling for cash each time.
This kind of practical knowledge just allows you to integrate more smoothly into the local flow. You avoid feeling like that obvious tourist struggling to figure things out at the ticket machine.
Navigation apps are pretty indispensable in a new place. While Google Maps is, widely used, the guide suggests exploring local alternatives. Things like Citymapper, which often has more detailed real-time info about public transport in many major cities, or Roadmap in China.
Good tip.
And a crucial piece of advice: download offline maps for the areas you'll be exploring. You never know when you might lose internet access, especially underground or out in nature.
Having reliable navigation at your fingertips, even without a data connection, is just essential for independent exploration and, frankly, peace of mind.
Our guide also champions the joy of strategic walking. It suggests that venturing beyond the main tourist arteries, like exploring the charming side streets of, say, Prague beyond just Charles Bridge, can lead to really delightful discoveries. But it also reminds you again, wear those comfortable shoes. And be aware of your surroundings, especially in crowded areas where pickpockets might operate. Keep your bag secure.
Walking allows for such a more immersive experience, doesn't it? And that chance to stumble upon hidden cafes, local shops, unexpected street art, it's a fantastic way to truly get a feel for the character of a place.
Avoiding peak travel times on public transport is another golden rule. The guide uses the example of trying to navigate the London Tube during rush hour. It can be a truly intense experience.
Yeah, packed like sardines.
Traveling outside of these peak times can not only make your journey more comfortable, but sometimes even save you money on fares, as some systems have off-peak pricing.
Being flexible with your travel times can significantly reduce stress and just improve your overall commuting experience, especially in really densely populated cities.
Now, when it comes to taxis or private drivers, the guide suggests using reputable ride-sharing apps where they're available, as they often offer more transparent pricing and safety features. It also shares a really fascinating cultural insight from Oman, mentioning how sometimes offering to pay a driver a bit extra to perhaps visit their family or village can lead to incredibly authentic and memorable experiences, like maybe being invited in for a traditional meal, though obviously you'd need to gauge that situation carefully.
Yeah, that highlights how a little bit of cultural understanding and openness can lead to truly unique and enriching encounters that go way beyond the typical tourist experience. Requires some sensitivity, though.
For sure. And the pro tip for navigating like a local, learn a few basic directional phrases in the local language.
Oh, yeah. Even knowing how to ask left, right, or straight ahead, or understand the answer can be incredibly helpful. And it's often appreciated by locals who see you making that effort.
Okay, you're moving around with confidence. Great. Now, a really important topic that can sometimes get overlooked in the excitement of travel: staying safe and alert in tourist areas.
Yeah, unfortunately, popular tourist destinations, with their high concentration of often distracted visitors, can attract individuals looking to, well, exploit those vulnerabilities. It's just a reality.
Our guide emphasizes general situational awareness and the unfortunate prevalence of pickpockets and scammers in many tourist hotspots. It advises using things like a money belt or a secure pouch worn under your clothing for valuables, especially in really crowded places like maybe La Rambla in Barcelona or markets in Marrakech, and keeping your day pack or bag in front of you where you can actually see it.
These simple preventative measures can significantly reduce your risk of becoming a victim of petty crime. It's about making yourself less of an easy target.
The guide also outlines some common scams to be aware of, like people offering unsolicited help and then demanding payment, or the free bracelet scam, or fake petitions where someone distracts you while an accomplice tries to pickpocket you.
Right.
It really stresses the importance of trusting your instincts if the situation feels off, or too good to be true. It probably is. Don't be afraid to just walk away.
Being informed about these common tactics can help you recognize them and hopefully avoid them. Knowledge is power there.
We mentioned this earlier in packing, but it's worth repeating. Make sure you have backup credit cards stored separately, and crucially, that you've notified your bank of your travel dates before you leave.
Yes, so important.
This can prevent your cards from being unexpectedly frozen for suspected fraud, which can leave you really stranded without access to funds.
These are just crucial safeguards that can save you a massive headache in case of an emergency or even just a lost card.
Health precautions are also part of safety. The guide advises being cautious about tap water in certain regions, checking local advice is key, and sticking to bottled or filtered water if there's any doubt, like in parts of India, for example. And practicing good hand hygiene, especially before eating, using hand sanitizer if soap and water aren't available. Simple stuff, but effective.
Maintaining good health habits while traveling is just essential for preventing illness and making sure you can enjoy your trip to the fullest. Getting sick on holiday is the worst.
Totally. Knowing the local emergency numbers like 999 in the UK, 112 in Europe, 911 in the US, and having the address of your accommodation written down somewhere, maybe even the nearest embassy or consulate address, is also vital info to have readily accessible, just in case.
Yeah, in the event of an emergency, having that information immediately available can be absolutely critical. Don't rely on having phone signal or battery.
Good point. For those traveling solo, especially women, the guide offers specific advice like maybe avoiding walking alone in poorly lit or isolated areas at night and being generally cautious about sharing too much personal information or your specific itinerary with strangers, which is good.
Right.
It even mentions the increasing risk of phone snatching in some big urban areas like London or other UK cities where thieves on bikes might grab it right out of your hand. So be aware when using your phone on the street.
Solo travel can be incredibly empowering. It really can. But it's just smart to be extra vigilant about your personal safety and security, taking a few extra precautions.
And the safety pro tip from our guide. Share your detailed itinerary flight numbers, hotel details, general plans with a trusted friend or family member back home, and maybe arrange to check in with them regularly.
Yeah, this simple act of keeping someone informed of your plans provides a really crucial safety net, especially when you're traveling alone. Someone knows where you should be.
Okay, let's move on to one of the most rewarding aspects of travel. How to truly immerse in the culture of a place, going beyond just seeing the famous sights.
Yes, this is where you move beyond the surface level and really begin to connect with the local people and their way of life. It's often the most memorable part.
Our guide encourages actively seeking out authentic experiences that go beyond the usual tourist offerings. And one of the best ways to do this, eating where the locals eat.
Definitely.
Forget the restaurants with picture menus in 6 languages right by the main square. Venture a little further, maybe down a side street, and find those small, bustling eateries packed with local residents. Like finding amazing thalis in India or those little trattorias away from the crowds in Italy.
Sharing a meal in a local setting like that is just a fantastic way to experience the culture firsthand. And it often leads to unexpected interactions, maybe recommendations, or just observing daily life.
Attending local events can offer a real glimpse into the heart of a place. Things like festivals, local markets, not just the tourist ones, but maybe neighborhood markets, community gatherings. The guide mentions things like East Anglian market towns in the UK or Thailand's Songkran Festival. These are often vibrant and offer a much different, more authentic perspective than a typical structured tourist attraction.
Yeah, these events provide a real window into the traditions, the celebrations, the social fabric of the local community. You see people interacting naturally.
And one of the most invaluable tips in the guide is simply to strike up conversations with locals, when appropriate, obviously. It emphasizes that they often have the best insider knowledge about hidden gems, great little restaurants, unique experiences that aren't listed in any guidebook. So the key is being respectful, open-minded, and genuinely interested in their lives and perspectives. Ask open-ended questions. Show you're listening.
Engaging in genuine conversations, even brief ones, with locals can lead to amazing, unexpected recommendations and just a much deeper understanding of the culture. Finding hidden beaches in Vanuatu or the best local hikes in Kazakhstan, perhaps.
The guide even mentions the possibility of being invited to local celebrations, maybe a wedding, a festival, a community event, perhaps in places like India or even the UK sometimes. It suggests that if this amazing opportunity happens, taking a small, thoughtful gift is usually a well-received gesture. Don't expect it.
Right. These spontaneous invitations can lead to truly unforgettable and incredibly authentic cultural exchanges. Real money can't buy experiences.
But it's also crucial to be mindful of cultural sensitivities and avoid unintentional faux pas. The guide cautions against, for example, photographing people without asking their permission first, especially in more traditional or religious settings, or sometimes even children.
Very important.
And respecting local customs regarding dress code, gestures things that might be offensive, and physical contact. For instance, norms around touching might be very different in Oman compared to, say, Italy.
Showing respect for local customs is just fundamental to being a responsible and, frankly, a welcome visitor. It shows you've done your homework.
And the cultural immersion pro tip from our guide. Carry a small notebook and pen to jot down interesting observations, recommendations you get from locals, maybe little phrases you learn, or just details you might otherwise forget in the rush.
That's a wonderful way to preserve those personal moments and those hidden gems that you discover beyond the usual tourist trail. Makes for a great souvenir, too.
Okay, you've immersed yourself in the local culture. Fantastic. Now let's talk specifics about how to make the most of attractions, even when they're absolutely swarming with people.
Yeah, those iconic landmarks are often popular for a very good reason, but navigating the crowds can definitely detract from the awe and the experience if you're not strategic about it.
Our guide suggests a classic but really effective strategy. Try to visit popular sites either very early in the morning, like right when they open, or later in the afternoon, maybe just before closing time.
Beat the rush.
He uses the example of visiting Petra in Jordan at dawn, or seeing the Eiffel Tower sparkle at night when many of the daytime tour groups have faded out.
Timing your visit like that can dramatically improve your experience. It allows you to appreciate the site with fewer distractions, better light for photos sometimes too.
Another great piece of advice is to consciously explore lesser-known gems alongside the major attractions. The guide suggests that while the Mona Lisa room in the Louvre is mobbed, maybe exploring the Egyptian antiquities or the 11th arrondissement in Paris offers a different vibe.
Right.
Or instead of just the most crowded section of the Great Wall of China at Bottling, consider a trip to a less restored section like Jianghu if you're prepared for more of a hike. It's about finding that balance.
This allows you to still experience the essence of a destination, see the big hitters if you want, but without constantly battling through hordes of tourists at every single stop. Mix it up.
For really complex historical or cultural sites, the guide recommends considering hiring a licensed local guide. Places like Angkor Wat or the pyramids. They can often offer insights, context, and stories you just wouldn't get from a guidebook or wandering around alone. Platforms like Get Your Guide are mentioned.
Yeah, a knowledgeable local guide can provide invaluable context and really unlock a deeper understanding of the site's history and significance.
It also suggests using audio guides as a more affordable alternative, which often offer great information too. They allow you to explore at your own pace and focus on the bits that interest you most.
Absolutely. Audio guides offer flexibility and independence, and they're often very well produced these days.
It's also really important, and this seems obvious, but people forget to respect the rules of the attraction, whether it's no flash photography in a museum to protect delicate artifacts, or staying on marked paths in a natural wonder like Iceland's Gullfoss waterfall, or in national parks to preserve the fragile environment and for your own safety too.
Adhering to these rules isn't just about being polite. It helps ensure that these incredible sites can actually be enjoyed by future generations. It's responsible tourism.
And the pro tip for making the most of attractions: check if they offer any free entry days or maybe special evening hours. And always try to book your tickets in advance online if possible, even if it's just the day before. Like for the 9/11 Memorial Museum, booking is often essential.
Taking advantage of those opportunities, free days or advanced booking, can save you both time queuing and sometimes money too, making your visit much smoother and more enjoyable, less hassle.
Okay, you're navigating like a local, staying safe, soaking in the culture, making the most of the sites. Brilliant. Now, a practical necessity in our modern world: how to stay connected.
Yeah, access to communication and information is often a really high priority for travelers these days, whether it's for staying in touch with folks back home, looking up maps, or checking opening times.
Our guide advises looking into getting a local SIM card upon arrival, or perhaps even better, an eSIM, which can be a really convenient option as you can often purchase and activate it digitally before you even arrive. Services like Airlo are mentioned.
eSIMs are definitely getting more popular.
It also has a specific tip for travelers heading to countries with significant internet restrictions, like China. Setting up a reliable VPN before you travel is pretty much essential for accessing many familiar websites and services.
Yeah, having reliable internet access however you get it can be incredibly helpful for everything from translation and navigation to booking onward travel and just staying in touch with family.
Now, while free Wi-Fi hotspots in cafes or airports can be tempting,
Very tempting.
the guide cautions against using them for sensitive online activities, things like online banking or making purchases with your credit card, as these public networks can sometimes be unsecured and vulnerable to eavesdropping.
Public Wi-Fi networks can pose security risks, so it's definitely wise to exercise caution. Maybe use your mobile data or a VPN even on Wi-Fi for anything sensitive.
Downloading essential apps before you go is another smart move. Apps for translation, navigation, like those offline maps we mentioned, maybe local transport apps, or even regional booking apps like Trip.com, which is useful in China.
Utilizing these digital tools can significantly enhance your travel experience and provide access to really valuable resources right there at your fingertips. Saves hassle later.
And to conserve precious phone battery life, which always seems to dwindle incredibly quickly when you're out exploring and using maps and taking photos,
Always.
the guide suggests maybe turning off automatic photo cloud backups while you're on the go. You can do that later over Wi-Fi. And definitely carrying a fully charged portable power bank.
Keeping your devices charged just ensures you can stay connected when you need to. capture those memories, and access important information throughout the day. A dead phone can be a real problem.
And the connectivity pro tip. Consider joining local Facebook groups or maybe online forums related to your destination before you go or while you're there. You can often get real-time information, ask specific questions, and get tips from other travelers and locals.
Yeah, these online communities can be a great source of really up-to-date advice and hidden gems that you might not find in traditional guidebooks, like finding out about a sudden transport strike or a local festival.
Okay, you're connected to the world. Now let's refocus on your personal well-being while you're on the road. Health and comfort.
Right, the sheer excitement of travel can sometimes make us forget to take care of our basic needs, but it's so crucial for actually enjoying the experience fully.
Our guide really stresses the importance of staying properly hydrated, especially when you're doing a lot of walking, maybe in warmer climates. It reminds you again to be aware of whether the local tap water is safe to drink, check reliable sources, and to opt for bottled or filtered water when in doubt. I mentioned Oman earlier as a place where bottled is often advised.
Maintaining adequate hydration is just essential for your energy levels and your overall well-being while traveling. Dehydration can creep up on you.
Sun protection is another non-negotiable, especially if you're visiting places with strong UV rays like Australia or high-altitude locations. The guide recommends using a high SPF sunscreen, wearing a wide-brimmed hat, sunglasses, and seeking shade during the hottest parts of the day.
Protecting your skin from the sun is vital for both short-term comfort, avoiding sunburn, and long-term health. Don't underestimate it.
It's also really important to listen to your body and pace yourself. You can't see and do everything. The guide advises against trying to cram too much frantic sightseeing into a single day, especially in intense places like New York City. Suggests building in some downtime to just relax and recharge.
Allowing for rest and recovery time helps prevent burnout and ensures you can actually sustain your energy levels throughout your entire trip. Don't come home needing another holiday.
Exactly. When it comes to food safety, the guide offers practical tips like maybe choosing busy-looking street food stalls where the turnover is high and the food is likely to be freshly prepared.
Good sign, usually.
And maybe being cautious about consuming raw vegetables or salads in certain regions where water quality might be uncertain, like parts of India, unless you know they've been washed in safe water.
Being mindful of food hygiene can help prevent those unpleasant stomach issues that can really ruin a few days of your trip. Choose wisely.
A strong recommendation reiterated from the guide is to invest in comprehensive travel insurance before you leave. Make sure it covers medical emergencies, trip cancellations or interruptions, and lost or stolen belongings. Read the policy.
Travel insurance provides absolutely crucial financial protection and, honestly, peace of mind in case of unexpected events. Don't skimp on it.
And the health and comfort pro tip. Pack some quick and easy snacks like energy bars, nuts, dried fruit to have on hand for those times when you need a little energy boost between meals or if you get delayed somewhere.
Yeah, having snacks readily available can help regulate your blood sugar, stop you getting hangry, and prevent that feeling of being overly tired or making bad food choices because you're starving. It saves money sometimes too.
Finally, as our deep dive approaches its end, let's consider something really important. How we can all strive to leave a positive impact on the tourist areas we visit.
Yeah, with the increasing popularity of travel and concerns about over-tourism, it's more important than ever to be mindful of our impact, both on the local communities and the environment.
Our guide encourages actively supporting local businesses. Choose small artisan shops over big souvenir chains, eat at family-run restaurants, use local guides, and practice fair tipping where it's customary, like in the UK service industry, ensuring the money goes to the staff.
Choosing to spend your money with local entrepreneurs directly benefits the community financially and helps preserve its unique character and culture. Keep the money local.
It also advocates for reducing waste, say no to unnecessary plastic bags, carry that reusable water bottle and coffee cup, and choose lower impact activities like kayaking or hiking, maybe instead of something more resource intensive. Thinking about the Great Barrier Reef example, maybe choosing a responsible boat operator.
Opting for sustainable travel practices helps protect the natural beauty and resources of the places you visit for the long term. Every little bit helps.
Respecting nature by staying on marked trails, especially in sensitive areas like Glacier National Park or coastal paths, and properly disposing of any trash, pack it in, pack it out, is also strongly emphasized. Don't leave any trace.
These actions contribute directly to the preservation of natural environments for future generations and wildlife to enjoy. Simple respect.
The guide advises being mindful of over-tourism by considering visiting less crowded areas nearby or traveling during the off-season or shoulder seasons. This helps distribute the economic benefits of tourism more evenly and reduces strain on really popular sites, like Venice, for example.
This can actually lead to a more authentic and enjoyable experience for you as well, and promotes a more sustainable form of tourism for the destination itself.
Finally, it suggests exploring opportunities to give back to the local community, perhaps through donations to reputable local charities, or maybe even volunteering, if done ethically and thoughtfully through proper organizations.
Right. But it also wisely cautions against well-intentioned but potentially harmful actions, like giving candy or pens directly to children on the street. We can inadvertently encourage begging or create dependency. It mentions this specifically regarding India. Better to support local schools or established NGOs.
Understanding the local context and the potential unintended consequences of your actions is really key to responsible, ethical travel.
Exactly.
And leave a positive impact, pro tip. Take a little time before you travel to learn about the local environment. Are there specific conservation issues, like fragile coral reefs in Vanuatu? Knowing this helps you be a more informed and responsible visitor.
Being aware of the environmental challenges a region faces allows you to make more conscious, lower impact choices during your trip. It shows you care.
So as our deep dive wraps up, the key takeaway from this incredibly detailed guide seems to be this. Navigating popular tourist areas doesn't have to be a chaotic and overwhelming experience. It can be amazing.
Absolutely. With thoughtful preparation, a dash of local insight, maybe a willingness to step off the beaten path sometimes, and a conscious approach to how you travel, it can be a truly enriching and memorable adventure.
These comprehensive tips, really practical stuff, from planning your trip like a savvy detective to ensuring you leave a positive footprint, are all about empowering you, the listener, to sidestep those common tourist traps and create lasting positive memories.
And ultimately, it leaves you with a compelling question to ponder, maybe as you plan your next getaway. How will you strike that balance between experiencing the iconic, must-see landmarks and uncovering the authentic local essence of your destination? And perhaps just as importantly, how will you ensure your travels contribute positively, not negatively, to the places you're so privileged to visit?